What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Fresh Perspective Podcast. It's your boy Tuck with my co-host Ray
Phillips the second. I think I'm on. Yeah, we on. All right, go ahead.
Today we have a very, very great topic. It's the beginning of Women's History Month. And so we thought it would be very cool to sit down and talk about the women that have influenced us, whether they be personally or historically.
Yeah, man, I'm super excited about it because, women are a vital part of of this world.
Yes.
As much as, we can say we don't really need women, that is a lie. There are some things that women can do that we can't, like bear children. And I think that is very important. And that's why we wanted to highlight, the women this month, man, really to shed some light on some women who not only impacted us, personally, but who has impacted history as well. So today's conversation is just going to be that. It's going to be not a history lesson, but, just a brief of the women in our lives, personally, professionally, and then those who we look up to.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think it's important because I think there's this conversation that's happening on social media, on different podcasts and things like that about men and women, the roles that we play in society and things of that nature. And I want to be able to offer a fresh perspective on this because some of the conversation I definitely don't agree with. Some of it is coming from a very shallow place. So I'm hoping that when we're having our discussion today that you will see a comprehensive thought on women and their role in our society rather than this narrow thinking, because a woman is as expansive as a man is expected to be. And I think we have to really fully acknowledge that the gifting, the ability to lead and things of that nature is not lacking when we talk about women. And some of the women that we'll talk about, you'll see that.
Absolutely. All right, so let's get started. Would you like to tell who your first woman is?
So I'm going to start with some history, some historical stuff. And I'm going to talk about Ida B. Wells. So Ida B. Wells, she was a prominent investigative journalist and activist. And I won't go too deep. I want you to do your own research. But big thought and idea about Ida B. Wells is that she was just a powerhouse. Not only was she a woman, but she was a black woman. So when we think about all the things she did in her time to push forward major just agendas and make progress in the black community, but then in the world stage, you have to realize all of the obstacles she also faced in that. So that's why I choose Ida B. Wells, because dynamic woman, made a lot of progress in certain areas for us here. Super, super important. Also, she's one of the founding members of the NAACP. Which is a huge, huge thing. Like I said, for the black community, it's an organization that has helped us throughout, and it's led by us. So, Ida B. Wells.
Yeah. So as you were talking about her, because we didn't have this scripted, y'all. So this is fresh, very, very fresh. No pun intended. So as you said her name, I went and I Googled who she was. And it popped up that she was born into slavery. So there are some things that she had to, overcome in order to get to, the space of the powerhouse. So make sure y'all go look her up, man. I just did a quick Wikipedia search to look it up. She was a civil rights and women's rights activist, journalist, newspaper editor, and she became independent in 1930, or freed in 1930. She was born in 1893.
Wow.
Born in 1893, and she
didn't even
died.
take it to that level.
Yeah.
So that's crazy.
1893, and she was born in a small town called Bowling Farm near Holy Springs, Mississippi. Yeah, that's crazy. Okay, all right. I had to do my research. Like, I'm a learner, so if I hear it, I gotta go see who she was and why she was so important to us. Okay, I love it. So for me, I'm gonna go a little more relevant, not the 1800s. More like she probably born in. I don't really have when she was born, but either way, my first woman who I look up to, I would have to say is the former First Lady of the United States of America, Miss Michelle Obama. And the reason why I would say she's like that for me is because she really embodies what, a mother, a wife, someone who believes in the Father. But not only that, she really was heavily involved in the community. I'm think that and I'm not really into politics like that, but I think she's like the first lady who, was on talk shows and really doing things in the community. And the biggest thing, excuse me, that she did was, she initiated the Let's Move movement, which was helping with child obesity. And I think that's very important because there are a lot of children who are obese who are getting bullied, and some of them are from being bullied or committing suicide ultimately. And I believe that the Let's Move movement or program will help with the obesity that we deal with as a whole, not just in my region, but in the whole country and in the whole world moving forward. So that's why I think that she's pretty dope. She was a lawyer, or she is a lawyer, a writer. She has a book out. My grandmother read it cover to cover. I wanted to read it, but I got bored after the first page. No shade. It's just not, the book for me. But Michelle Obama is my first woman. Not my first woman. My first woman is my wife, but she's the first woman.
We understand
on my list.
We understand, brother. You ain't gonna get in trouble. I
don't think she watched the podcast anyway, so I think we straight.
Oh, okay. She had enough of you talking, huh?
Yeah, I think we straight.
Okay, good. I don't know if Diana does or not, but we'll see. The next woman, and we'll kind of stay historically for one more, is Ketanji Brown Jackson. She was in April of 2022. She was the first Black woman to be appointed to the U.S. Supreme Court.
Oh, that's lit.
As a young woman, she was told that in high school that she should give up her dream of going to Harvard University. Not only did she do that, she graduated from Harvard She graduated from Harvard magna cum laude, which is high honors, and she went on to Harvard Law School and became an editor of the Harvard Law Review. Powerhouse. No matter what you believe, she's considered to be a liberal justice on the Supreme Court. So all that aside, the liberal conservative arguments and all that kind of stuff, just a bad Black woman when we talk about being able to achieve at the level she was able to achieve. But not just that, she showed grit and perseverance because someone told her to give that up because of their narrow view of what she could possibly do. They may have thought that and if I've used my imagination, they may have thought that she was smart and that she could go and do great things. But when we talk about going to an Ivy League school, when we talk about becoming a lawyer at that same Ivy League school, and we talk about now where she is in the Supreme Court, all that she's achieved when at the beginning someone almost derailed her dream. Right. But she didn't allow that to happen. So I want to give a shout out to Ketanji Brown Jackson because the things that she is doing and how dynamic she is, I really am proud to identify the same way she does when it comes to race.
That's lit. So you was talking about Harriet Tubman briefly, and I can't let you breeze over because I didn't do my research last night. I had a lot going on. However, Harriet Tubman is one of my favorites, right? Why? Uh-huh. Because not only did she escape to Philadelphia, shameless plug right out here where we outside of Philadelphia, but she, escaped here. But the biggest thing that I think that stuck out to me when I started doing my research as you begin to speak again, about her is that her nickname was Moses. You know what I'm saying? And we could get deep and we go wax deep on that, but we're not gonna do that today. That's not what this episode is about. But when you really think about who Moses was, right, and you really think about and do your research on who Harriet Tubman was, you really see the parallel. You know what I'm saying? And how she moved and how she acted and how she just believed that if she could get those people to ultimately the promised land, which is Philadelphia, they would be free. And she said this when she came. She said, She crossed into Pennsylvania with a feeling of relief and awe and recalled the experience years later. And years later, she said, when I found I had crossed that line, I looked at my hands to see if I was the same person. That's crazy. There was such a glory over everything. She said, the sun came out like gold through the trees and over the fields, and I felt like I was in heaven. That, bro, I got chills right now just reading that. Like,
I know.
Have you ever been in a space where your storm was so dark that while the sun was still shining, you didn't understand the ambiance of the sun or the rays hitting your skin, and after you came through the storm, you just looked at yourself I looked at myself in the mirror and was like, yo, I really made it through. Yo, this sun is sunning. Like this water, this rain is raining.
Yeah.
It feels different now that I'm out of the storm, bro. That really just blessed me. Like really, really just blessed me.
That's huge.
Really blessed me.
I really like that you pointed that out because it's right. When we're in dark times, when we're going through the motions, we don't always see, we're not always present. Right? Because you're trying to get through. So you don't have time to look at the sun. You don't have time to look at the grass. You don't have time to, it's like, how am I going to make it to the next day? Actually, how am I going to make it to the next minute?
Right.
Like,
the next
that's
moment.
the reality of where she was coming from. And so for her to have the grit to push through and believe that not only can I get free, but she said that ain't enough for me. It's that saying that I love. It's just like, until all of us are free, none of us are.
That's a fact.
Right? So just because some of us got millions of dollars in the bank and some of us are living easy, not worrying about our bills, it doesn't mean the job is done. So when we get to that space, bro, I don't know about you, but I ain't there yet.
No.
I ain't worried about bills or nothing like that. I try to submit all of those thoughts and those worries and fears unto the Lord. But again, I ain't all the way there yet where I could just like every day I'm like, I know my bills is straight. I know everything is straight. I ain't there all the way yet. You know, I'm fortunate and I do believe that and I'm grateful for it. But to the people who are, and particularly when I think about our people who are in those positions, you're not done yet. I know people say, you know, all I got to do is worry about myself. That's not true. Because guess what? If people who look like you are still struggling, you still got work to do. That's how I look at it.
A lot of work.
And then on a general people level, if people are still out here struggling, you still got work to do. I wrote a post and it makes me think about Harriet Tubman. It's like it says, people who do not give freely get what they have. Right? But people who give freely will never want for anything.
No, that's true.
And that's like I responded to somebody and I'm thinking about her, like she could have been selfish and be like, well, I made the freedom.
I'm out.
I'm good.
I'm here.
Why would I turn around and go? That's what I'm saying. When we talk about women and on these social media platforms and we make it seem like they're the, people love to throw it out, the weaker partner, the weaker person, the fairer sex, or whatever you want to say, whatever terminology you want to say to make men at a certain level and women at a different level. Think about Harriet Tubman. That's just one woman. Please. Think about Harriet Tubman because she probably would have did you in. Like, in reality, she probably would have did you in. Because most of y'all men are not as tough as y'all think y'all are. Y'all ain't this tough. Because y'all would have said, because a lot of y'all feed into, you know, in this case, we talk about going back to get people to bring. So you're going back into a place that can enslave you to bring people out of that enslavement. When you were free, you could have went further north to Canada. She could have, well, she was in Canada at one point. She could have stayed and been like, I'm going to keep going. I'm getting out of America completely because I don't know, even here, somebody might be able to come and get me and bring me back into slavery. Because she wasn't really that far, I don't think. She was in Maryland, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was in Maryland.
That's what I'm saying. Think about it. Maryland, you go to Baltimore, that's an hour and a half. You go deeper in Maryland.
On foot. You got to remember she was on foot.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. I'm going to get there. So you talk about driving, take 90 minutes to get to Maryland, to Baltimore. Take about 2 hours to go deeper, and 2, sometimes maybe 3 hours. So you're talking a 3-hour car ride. She's on foot. In reality, when we think about Deep South, when we think about slavery, we think about Deep South. So we thinking about the Carolinas, the Georgia, Florida. Like we thinking about going Deep South, but it was that close. In a sense of if you were driving.
Right.
But she, of course, had to be on foot. So to say I'm going to now go back and I want to create a pathway to freedom, as I do this, one, she's strong. 2, smart.
Absolutely
Because
smart.
she created a pathway. But in that, she also has EQ because she had to know who to trust. Because along the way, as much as we hate it, as much as my Pan-African brothers hate it, and sisters hate it, along the way, some white folk had to help us.
That's a fact.
She had to figure out who was trustworthy. So she had high EQ, high IQ, and she was tough. So a very formidable person in general, but just a very formidable woman. And yes, they did call her Moses.
Right.
She got a lot of people to the promised land.
No, that's facts. I think another word when you talk about Harriet Tubman, man, is fearless.
Yes.
Because wow, man, I'm getting chills even talking about this. This is crazy. Yeah. Because while you think about it, right? Like you spoke on something that said a lot of us would not go back when I could be free, right? Mm-hmm. Think about just for a moment society as a whole, like especially our culture, right?
Right.
Other cultures, they come to America and they come here for opportunity, right? And I know this is off topic, but I gotta say it, right? So they come here for opportunity.
Yeah.
They dwell together. They pay all of the bills together. They save enough money so that they can get out and they can be free. Because ultimately, that's what it is, right? When we talk about the American opportunity, American dream, we're talking about the idea of being free.
Yes.
The idea of having financial freedom, the idea to be able to do what it is that we want to do despite the constraints of what maybe this government may have on us or whatever this looks like. So think about it for a second. Would you, and I'm talking to myself first, would you go back? Have you gone back? When I worked at,
that's real good.
I gotta put this down for a second because I'm a wax just for a second.
Oh yeah.
But as I think about it, when I began to work for AMC, right, I got in as a cook. I got married. I had to work, so I'm like, all right, what I'm gonna do? My homie came. He's like, yo, bro, put in an application. We'll get hired the same day. Bet. Got hired. Same day, just like you said, it was gonna happen quick. Same day, got hired. Right. Mm-hmm. I say, yo, what am I gonna do to go back for mine? Right? Everybody in my neighborhood who needed a job got a job. Why? Because I believe in giving the next man an opportunity.
Yeah.
If I'm at the top, why am I holding it for myself?
That's good.
Does that make sense?
No, that's good.
Why would I hold it for myself? And ultimately, I wasn't even thinking about it consciously, subconsciously. It was like, yo, I'm going to help whoever I can help, right? I was helping siblings. That's frowned upon in corporate America. I was helping people who I really didn't know for real, but they was from where I'm from. Right. I was helping old principals, kids get their first jobs. I had an opportunity to supervise even your brother, for instance, and that's my man, Pots and Pans. I had an opportunity to supervise him and really just bringing people along. Bro, I was helping people in my neighborhood get promoted to supervisor, to manager, to senior manager, to things that wasn't really thought about of being from here, being from where we from. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You have to go back. And it was brought to me by one of my cousin's friends. He was like, Ray, you really are the father of Delco. He was like, bro, you really make sure people are okay.
Yeah.
Like you really make sure come, excuse my French, hell or high water, you make sure people are okay.
Yeah.
And I really had to look in the mirror and was like, yo, that's really you, bro.
Yeah.
That's really who you are. Like, that's really, your embodiment. So my question to not only our viewers, but to you, my guy, is will you go back?
Absolutely. Okay. I think the type of person you are, that's in you, right? That's in your, I don't even know if I can say, and we don't, I mean, only you would know and it maybe not. But for me, it's like you. It's woven into my being. Mm-hmm. I'm not a selfish person. I'm not a person who likes to exclude people. If I see something good, I'm a part of something good. Or if something good is availed to me, but I'm not thinking that it's something that I want to be a part of, but it is, I know I can acknowledge it as something good, I'll find somebody else. Like, you know what, that's not my thing. Mm-hmm. But like, just because you right here, Ray, my boy Ray, like he might be interested. Let me run this by him. I'm telling you, he's a solid dude. But yeah, if you in a position and it's you You don't have no problem because you like, I'm going to work with you. You might be rough around the edges.
Right.
I know you rough around the edges, but I'm the one that's bringing you in. So I'm going to work with you. And this is a space of grace. I think it is the utmost important thing for us to do when we get in positions of power corporately. Look out for us. Because you said something. You said it's frowned upon in corporate when you bring in your family.
Absolutely.
It's frowned upon for us.
No, that's true.
They do it all the time.
That's very true.
And again, this is not about us versus them. I'm not against all white people, but I'm just being real. When a white person is in a place of power, they're given the space to do as they see fit. And if that is bringing in Junie, if that is bringing in their nephew,
you know what I mean?
if that is bringing in their friend's son, and they want to do that and give them a prominent position that somebody may be of a different, it don't have to be black, it could be a brown person, it could be an Asian person. If somebody from those cultures were working their behinds off in that same office, but then they were like, well, my friend's son just graduated, I want to get him a nice job, right? They'll do it. So it's really us, and we do it. We say, oh, we can't do that. I don't want, because we're so afraid to lose our position. But guess what? Your position isn't as vulnerable as you think it is.
I'm trying to tell you.
Because guess what? They don't ultimately control it. And there's things that you can do to rectify situations where they question or try to remove you out of your position. There's things that we can do that we need to be educated about so we don't always feel so insecure in a position. Yeah, culturally, they may try to make things uncomfortable for you at the company, but do as you see fit. And just make sure you inspect what you expect of the people you're bringing in. So you bringing in people that you want to bring in, family members, close friends, children, or whatever, or close friends. You just make sure that they're clear of the expectation, and then you let them know not to micromanage you. I'm not going to do that, but I will be checking in, I will be checking up, and we will have conversations about how you're doing over time, as anybody would, because I want to make sure that you're tracking well so that eventually you won't need me. You won't even need my name to get where you want to get to. You'll be getting pulled from other departments to go do something and lead something and step into roles and positions, right? So that's what we have to start doing. We have to get in these positions and we have to look and say, you know what, instead of the idea of like, I don't want to go ahead and get so-and-so because I don't know how they're going to act. Be like, no, I'm going to get so-and-so because they would go get their so-and-so. So I'm going to go get my so-and-so, and we're going to build a team here, and we're going to elevate our community. But then we got to get back on track. So we're going to go ahead and get back.
That's a fact. That's a fact. This is about Women's Month.
Yeah.
So I want to give you one who's prominent in my life. Growing up, she's. You know how everybody say like they like an auntie or they like a grandma, like things like that. So we moved to Sharon Hill back in '99. Yeah, I went to Cambridge. So we moved in '99. Her mother lived across the street from us. And her mother is my grandmother. Blood ain't gonna make us closer. Nothing like that. No, like it's just not gonna make us closer. That's my grandma, right? So and all her kids is my aunts, my uncles, her their kids is my cousins, like all that kind of thing. So the one for me, like I really watched her grind from the time I was in high school into where she is right now. She started off in schools, K through 12. She was an educator, specifically for special education. And I believe she was in the William Penn School District for a very long time. Shout out to y'all who went to William Penn School District. That's where I was at prior to 9th grade, William Penn. Ooh. Nah, I'm just kidding. She is Kappa, Alpha Phi Kappa, sorority incorporated. But she was elected, and I'm going to mess this up, magistratio district judge in Darby, Pennsylvania. And it's none other than my auntie, the Honorable Judge Tammy L. Forbes. And, just from the backstory of it, really, it just let you know, like, bro, she raised, 3 kids. She's married. She's a believer. She's heavy in the community. Like, her being a judge didn't make her an advocate in our community. Like, prior to that, she was already in the community heavy. You know what I'm saying? She was feeding people. She was hosting events and doing different things like that, and educating us on what it looked like to be not the success of society, but the success of self. We could get trapped and lost in what society says what we should do, or what we should be. And we talked about it in the first episode of what success looks like. But she showed that it's okay to look in the mirror and say, I'm successful as a woman. And go do your research on her, man.
Do your Googles.
She's super dope. You said what?
I said, do your Googles.
Do your Googles. You know what I'm saying? Go. I don't think she got a Wikipedia yet, but go look her up. Tammy L. Forbes. That's my next woman.
That's powerful. That's powerful. It's one thing to talk about women in history, right? That's very easy, cliche. You can read off some things of their bio. It's another thing when we start talking about women who impacted you in the community personally. So I really appreciate you sharing that information. And I know her as well, slightly. It's funny. It's not, and it wasn't even through you. I think I met her at What's Your Passion at Academy Park. And then I think her and my mother are part of a group of women that have taken pictures together. I think. No, Mom, right. You can correct me. They've done like these pictures together. And my mom was saying she didn't really know her outside of that, which is funny because they both grew up in the same area.
Yeah, in Derby.
Yeah, so my mom grew up in Yaden, but that's all like together. That area is kind of all together. So I thought she knew her from like childhood. Like they might have knew each other from childhood, but she was like, no, I know her from doing this collective of women who got together to take pictures and stuff like that. I was like, okay, that's cool. But my mom was a Penwood graduate as well. So whenever we talk about the rivalry between Penwood and Academy Park, it's interesting because my dad went to Derby Township, so I always tease my mom and say, well, you couldn't find nobody in your school district. I said, so you always talking about Penwood, but you had to come over to Derby Township to get your husband. So I always tease her about that. And then I'm like, then both of your kids went to Derby Township School District. So I'm like, Academy Park. So I was like, you Academy Park now at this point. So
you jumped in.
Yeah. So I always tease her about that. But I want to talk about I'll save my mom for last. I just wanted to chime in on the Penwood thing, but I'm gonna save my mom for last. I'm gonna talk about a group of women. I'm not gonna talk about their full bio or anything. I'm just gonna talk about how they impacted me, and partially because seeing these 4 women that I had a thought to write down, and I just kind of went with the first thoughts of women I was thinking about. They're all doctors in different capacities, some in the medical realm and others in education. And these women have really impacted me in different ways. 2 of them literally helped me grow and develop. They were here since I was in diapers and watched me grow at every stage of my life. And have been super impactful. So I'm going to name them, and then I'll just kind of do a little blurb that's specifically how they've impacted me. So first person I want to name is Dr./Minister Melinda Johnson. Really, really powerful woman, really dynamic woman. And the reason why I thought of her first is because she was like part of the tribe of mothers that I have. And so is the second person I'll name. But she was a part of the tribe of mothers that I had growing up, that my friends, these are their mothers, but they looked after all of us like they were our mother. And it was just a tribe of mothers. If you think tribe of mothers, from a standpoint, I think about the Dora Milaje. These women were that dynamic. They were that protective. They were that intelligent. And she's one of the women that were a part of that tribe of mothers. I like to call my tribe of mothers. So she's a doctor, and I believe, and I hope I get this right, I believe it's physical therapy. So you can correct me if I'm wrong. Any of the sons, my brothers, and anyone who's knows her as well. But I believe it's in physical therapy. But she's a doctor, and I'll just name this other person, Dr. Keisha Pedro. I'm sorry, she has a new last name, so I'm sorry about that. So Dr. Keisha and I gotta research on that last name. We might blurb that one out.
Heard that.
Yeah, so we might get that one out. So Dr. Keisha, we'll just put the Dr. Keisha, but we'll blur about that other last name because that's not the last name anymore. You just recently got married within the last year and a half. So congrats on that. I'm happy for you. And this is a woman, again, she's a part of the tribe of mothers that I had. She's funny because I'll be honest with you. When I was in high school and coming out of high school, I was a BSer, right? I was all about the charm. I was all about making people laugh. I was all about that kind of thing. And that's kind of how I felt like I skated by in certain scenarios where maybe I wasn't coming with my best, but I had the nice smile. I could say the right things and everybody would let me go. Miss Keisha entertained me. So I call her Miss Keisha or Dr. Keisha. She entertained me, but she saw through all of that, and she always wanted more from me. So she actually gave me one of my first jobs, actually my first job out of high school, working at a daycare. One, she trusted me, but she also challenged me to be the man of the property because everybody else was women. So I took out the trash every day, and I helped out with the older kids in certain capacities, like if they were getting a little rough, and they're bigger. So she wanted me to have a presence of being the man on the property at that time, and she challenged me as a 18, just turned 18 and going into 19. I worked that whole year after high school. She challenged me to step up and be that. So I really appreciate her. She's dynamic in her own regard and did a wonderful job raising her 3 children. Is a wonderful grandmother and a woman of God as well. It's just she has a great attitude. And she is one of those women that, you know how when we say white people stuff, black people stuff? Yeah. Well, she do everything.
Right.
She don't do that, right? And I love it because it opened our mind. As much as we might have been like, we don't do that stuff, like skiing and water sports and stuff like that. Her kids were into all of that growing up. And we kind of like, we were like, yeah, we thought it was cool, but it was also like, our parents kind of like, that's not really our thing. Mm-hmm. But I really admired it because it takes the limitations off of what we can do as a people. And so our children have experienced so many different things, been so many different places, all because there was no boundary about what is things that we do as a people versus what are things that we don't do. So I really appreciate that. The other 2 women, I'll be really quick, is Dr. Tammy James and Dr. Mo Jerry. 2 women who I intersected with in my grad program. One as my graduate assistant supervisor, Dr. Tammy James, and the other was one of my professors and program head, Dr. Mo Jerry. Dynamic, intelligent, powerful, don't play with them, activists, all about the people, wanting to make sure that those who are afterthoughts are being moved into the forethought so that they can be not only successful, but so that they can meet their basic needs, right? These women are all about uplifting the people who we would consider to be the least of these, right? And that example is just so powerful and it's so wonderful. So those 4 women in different ways. And then a little more about Dr. Melinda Johnson, and she's a minister as well. Very dynamic preacher, mentor, advisor. So she's in the medical realm, but she's also in the spiritual realm, a very dynamic person. And so all that aside, she's also a very motherly person. And I might have mentioned that a little bit. Very motherly. I could call her right now probably if I really wanted to, and if I needed something, or if I just needed her thought on something, and she would treat me as if I was one of her 3 sons.
That's awesome.
That's how she would treat me. So.
No, that's huge. I could talk about a couple, but I'm not going to because I want to really get my last 3 technically, but 2 of them gonna be together.
Okay.
And I just want to talk about real brief, like, you talk about like a village of moms who raised you, like that kind of thing. And I got best friends, moms, and stuff like that, who raised me. But the 2 that I really want to like kind of hone in on right now, is my mother, my biological mother, and my stepmother. And they were so pivotal, growing up. It's kind of like Rich Dad Poor Dad, right? You know how like Robert Kiyosaki talked about the Rich Dad, the Poor Dad. You ever read that book?
I have not.
Bro, that book is game changer. We might have to read it together and then kind of like, ping pong. But so basically Robert Kiyosaki had a rich dad and he had a poor dad, right? And his rich dad was wealthy and he bought real estate and like all these kind of things. And his poor dad technically wasn't poor, but he worked a 9-to-5 job, but he didn't have the same principles as the rich dad.
Okay.
Right? He didn't teach him the same principles, but he taught him about life and like how certain things in your life and things like that. So for me, my biological mom, she did everything that she possibly could do to make sure I was straight. You know what I'm saying? She made sure I had food on the table, made sure I had clothes on my back, made sure, the electric was on. And sometimes it got cut off, but it was okay because we was all together. It didn't matter. Mm-hmm. And she ultimately helped shape who I am today, right?
Yeah.
Now, my stepmother, who is like my spiritual mother, like realistically, I mean, she married my father, but the other day we was on the phone and she was like, son, can't nobody tell me you're not my son. You're my spiritual son too, as well as my stepson.
Right.
And as I began to think about it, I said, absolutely. There were many, many times growing up where, she'd be in the kitchen and everywhere else in the house, bro. And I remember like it was yesterday, everywhere in the house would be freezing, bro. Like freezing cold. Not because the air conditioner's on, but just because it's cold. Like it's cold outside, it's cold in the house. Mm-hmm. You walk in the kitchen, you feel the warmth. And as a kid, I just never understood it, right? But she would be in there praying. She would be in there listening to sermons. She'd be in there reading her word. She'd be in there, doing what mothers do.
Right.
Cleaning dishes, folding clothes, like nonstop. And that instilled something in me and my faith to be able to walk how I walk in faith now. You know what I'm saying? Like, so for me, both of them had a part, right? A lot of times I joke around and say I had two moms growing up. And realistically, I did. I mean, I had two dads too because I had a stepdad and my real dad. But those women really shaped and was able to nurture. And I think that's why I'm so relational and I give the way that I give, because I watched my biological mother raise the three of us, and sometimes 4 or 5, depending on who she took in, raising other people's children. But I watched her do it, bro. And she had one job.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and she really made amends. You know what I'm saying? She made sure that we were straight. And then my stepmom, she has the bulk of my dad's kids. She got 6 of them, of my daddy's kids. You know what I'm saying? And I watched her do the same thing. She really grinded it out. She really did what was necessary to make sure that they were straight. You know what I'm saying? And not only them, myself as well. Like there was times where my birthday would come up and my dad, anyway, my stepmom would give me a card and it'd have money in it. And he'd be like, from dad. And I'm like, yeah, okay. I know who this is really from.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, but she would never allow, both of my mothers would never allow my father to be defamed. They would always make sure that they saved his face despite what it was looking like. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So I never had a negative connotation of who my father was.
Right. That's good. That's good. I have a few more. I'll group them up. But one I want to mention is Pastor Christine O. James. That's a senior pastor, Paul James's wife. Super dynamic. I mean, when we talk about a woman who could be president of the United States,
man,
if I could pick, if I could say, if they said, Levi, you pick the first woman of the United States to become the first woman to become president of the United States, she's on a short list of women who I will probably go to and be like, IQ, EQ, high on empathy, compassion, but shrewd, wise, all these things that I think about, she embodies them, and I could see her at that level. Now, this is a woman who was in corporate America at one point, but due to the call of God and being in line with her husband, and both of them hearing from God that she was supposed to come home and focus on the home front, raise the children. Ooh. She did it. Now my pastor is on a love offering, and I say that they live on a love offering, meaning each Sunday when we come in, whatever we put in that particular basket, whatever we pay on the line to that particular line item is what they get each week. So we joke, we laugh, they do it too. Sometimes it's a love offering, sometimes it's a like offering. We joke about it, right? But in reality, these both of them, but just to focus on Pastor Chris, we call her, she's worth her weight in gold and more. And so she has mothered women who were slightly younger than her. She has mothered women who are older than her. She has mothered all of us in a real way, not just because you're the senior pastor's wife that we call you the mother of the house. No. Even if she wasn't, that's who she is. She's the mother. She mothered all of us, right? She helped our mothers. And this is the thing. There's no playbook on parenthood. There's no playbook on being a mother or a father, right? But there's this divine wisdom that she had. And I really believe it's a result of her just hearing from God and submitting to the voice of God that gave her the wisdom to be able to give advice, to be able to walk with people, even when she could. And this is the thing. She had the wisdom not to give advice too. Where there was a place where God is working on that, I'm backing up, but I'm here for you. Right. I'm praying for you. I'm praying that you hear what God has for you. That's the thing. She's so wise in that regard that she can give you advice. Almost anything I take to her, I believe she could have an answer for. But she doesn't allow her flesh to lead her. So there's times where she says, I don't have anything for you. Even though in her flesh, she might, like her personal wisdom, she might feel like, well, yeah, just do this, this, and this. But she's sensing God's doing something. And she'll say, let me back off and let you know I'm praying for you and keep me updated. Keep me updated as to how things are going. And I'm going to check in on you and see how you're doing. This woman is super dynamic. Like I said, corporate, she could be, I told you they live on a love offering. She could be making probably $500,000 a year by now if she stayed on the corporate track and went. Like she would be one of those people you would look at and be like, she's the CEO of Pepsi. She's the CEO of such a, you see all those CEO jobs go up every few years, people moving around and stuff like that. She would be a type of woman that you could see in that regard because she's so dynamic in that space that she could do that easily. And she committed to a life of ministry with her husband. Even though in the flesh, she might not have wanted to. And she's talked about this freely, so I'm not saying anything that is like not known. Right. In her flesh, she might have been like, I didn't want to. My pastor said himself, it was like, I had no plans of being a pastor. He was like, I had every intention of doing other things like singing and being a professional singer and all that. And he was on track to do that. But he said, God kept calling him. God kept calling. So eventually he submitted. And so she was the same way. She had no plans on being a pastor. She had no plans on being married to a preacher. But God has his plans, right? We make our plans, and that's fine. And but God ultimately has his plan.
And he laughs.
And so
loudly.
When we think about it, it's funny. So when I think about Pastor Chris, she's so dynamic. And for us to be blessed to have her in that space, because she could easily, like I said, be a CEO where you never would see her. Like, I would probably still be friends with her son. That's Josh's mom.
Okay.
The senior pastor and Pastor Chris. That's his parents. So I would still probably be friends with them. Like, we probably would have still crossed paths in some way, shape, or form, especially if Pastor would have still been in ministry. But if she was still committed to a life, the corporate life, we wouldn't have really seen her. Because she would have been here, this country, that country, all the way. Right. She would have been all over the place, right? So we're blessed to have a woman of that caliber be a leader in our church home. And the women that come through, they've been impacted by her greatly in a positive way. So they've helped because she committed to do different than the women before her. It helps them to see, oh, she committed to that. So I can do it too. Right. So let me walk with her.
Excellent.
And let me go and let me move with her. Let me lock and step. And this is where you get this tribe of mothers. This is where this tribe of mother comes from that I talked about. The two women I mentioned in the other group, they're from that tribe of mothers that were all connected to Pastor Chris.
That's lit.
It's the Dora Milaje.
So she's like the female version of T'Challa.
Yeah, she's that dynamic. Or you could say like Queen Mother. I think Queen Mother, which is T'Challa's mom, she was looked at as like, oh, I think queens get looked at as like, you're just a queen because of the king. Mm-hmm. But we don't realize that throughout history, there were queens that were dynamic in their own regard and ran whole kingdoms by themselves. Right. And this even biblically, there's been signs of that. So when we talk about that, it's like, yeah, you could say, well, she is what she is because she's next to Pastor James, next to Pastor Paul James. But Pastor James will tell you, I am who I am because she's next to me.
Bruh, that's the realest thing ever.
Pastor Chris, that's my second one.
Yeah, I need to meet her.
Or my next one. So.
Yeah, I need to meet her.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm gonna have to come through the church one Sunday.
Yeah, come through.
Come sit down with y'all.
Come through.
Yeah, come sit down with y'all for sure.
Come through. There's a couple women I just want to kind of rifle off too, like just say their names and give them acknowledgement of all the things that they're doing. You got Pastor Brittany Mingo, who I went to Westchester with, and is my sister. So I like to give her high honor. She hates it. She wants me to continue to call her sis and all that, and I do text. But when we in public forums, I like to give her the respect and say Pastor Brittany Mingo because you earned that. You answered your call. You earned it, so you were qualified, right? You didn't feel like it, but like I told you before when you were going through the journey and you were kind of where God called you, I said to you, you don't have to feel qualified right now, right? You don't have to feel that, but you will be, qualified in the process because there's a process and there's a continued process. But you are as much of a pastor as anybody who I can think of. And there's things that you bring to the table that many pastors who you hold in high regard can't. And that's why they acknowledge your call and the need for you to be elevated. She's at E9 Tabernacle. Okay. And she's over there, young adults and youth ministry. So, I want to shout her out. I want to shout out Janine James, who is Pastor James and Pastor Chris's daughter, their baby. And she's completely dynamic and a type of woman who could do whatever it is that she puts her mind to. So I want to shout her out. Christiana Barber, educator, mother, executive assistant. What can I name? Coordinator. I could name so many things that you are, or I could name so many things that you do. But who you are makes all of that possible. And you are dynamic, like I've mentioned about these other women's. You are full of compassion and empathy. I want to give you your flowers because you are a sister to me. You are a godmother to my children. And that alone, we don't take that lightly because we know if something, God forbid, were to happen to us, both are one of, I know how much of a role and how much you would step up and a lot of your ethics and your core values are aligned with ours. So a woman of God, very serious about, she calls me deacon. She don't, like, I'm her little brother and she don't call me nothing but deacon because I'm a deacon at the church. So her respect for me speaks volumes because when you respect yourself, you respect others. Absolutely. So Christiana Barber, and a wonderful wife to my brother, my big brother, who was a Philadelphia police officer. Wonderful. I won't give his name because I don't want anybody that might see this. We don't need that. Yeah. But I will say wonderful wife to her husband. And it's amazing to do life with y'all and to walk with y'all. And there's things that you help me grow and there's things that I can help you grow in, and you're open to that. And I just love you. You're my big sister, Jasmine Johnson, wonderful artist. Actually, this picture right here, Black Jesus, real Jesus. Real Jesus.
The bronze skin. Skin.
Real Jesus. She did that. And she's a wonderful wife to my brother Wayne, who will hopefully maybe be doing some of our editing. We'll see. He's definitely gonna come through and help me do some more setup stuff here in the studio. Yeah. So Jasmine Johnson, and then Stephanie Reed, who was my coworker at Westchester University, very much so advocated for me to get the position I was in there, believed in me while I was there, before I was there, wanted me to be treated right, checked in on me, made sure I was okay. We still have a really good connection. It's funny, her husband worked with my dad back at Glen Mills in the late 80s, early 90s. So we had that connection going too. So another wonderful mother I was able to add to my tribe. Like, she checked on me. Like, when I told her about some things that was going on in my life, she been checking on me, and she always checks on me. So she calls me Young King. So I love it. So it helps me out. So she's wonderful.
All right, listen, I'm gonna have to go for the shooter real quick. And, I mean, he was on the hot speed shooting him. So I got one more, but I do got a few that I could shout out real quick. Rita Miller, which is my best friend's mother, she helped basically shape my life as well. Malisa Hemmons, who is an assistant principal for Woodbury Junior High. She's family. She's big in her community, like very, very big. She serves on probably all of the political boards in Delaware County, Black Caucus, like all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
She is a member of the Delta sorority. I don't know the whole insignia, but forgive me, y'all.
It's all right. As long as you don't talk bad about them, you
no.
As long as you don't talk bad about
Absolutely
them,
not.
they won't come for you.
Absolutely not. She's really, really huge. My mother-in-law, Sheila Bird, very influential person in my life even right now. Our relationship wasn't always the greatest, but it's the greatest now. And I thank God for it, because we are able to coexist how, mothers and sons should be. And I don't even put the in-law in, because I feel like she's like a mom. That village that you talked about, she's part of that village now in my adult life. My sister, Kristen Chu, is a businesswoman. A mother, a wife. She does it all. She's very influential in, what happens in my life as well, and as well as my wife's life. And then grandma. Grandma is 90 years old, bruh. Grandma 90. She was born in 1933.
That's love.
Houses were $500. You could get a house for $500 in 1933. And I only know that because they had a sheet when she was born, like what happened in 1933. On her 90th birthday, man, that's wild. She raised 6 kids with her husband, and all 6 of her kids at some point or another got married. They have kids of their own, they have lives of their own, doing, what it is that they do. But she's 90 years old, and she still does everything for herself.
That's dope.
And if you try to help, besides take out the trash, I'm the trash man. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Or I fix what needs to be fixed in the house. I do that. Now I probably miss somebody else. My grandmothers, both of them, God rest their souls. And then lastly, for the quick shout out is Prophetess Sharia Muzan, which is the apostle of our ministry, his first lady, the wife, and just like Pastor Chris, she is a mother to so many, bro. Like she really helped unlock a lot of things in my wife. And making my wife open up more and express who she is. And, she teaches the women who are not only married in our ministry, but the ones who are desiring to be married. She teaches them how to be a wife. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, what does that really look like? It's a lot more in depth just saying I do, right? There's so much more that comes with what being a wife is, and she embodies what that looks like for that. So that's my quick shout. But I'm gonna take this last person, because you probably got a couple more in your gunfire over there.
And then I got my wrap up, my grand slam.
So I'm gonna hit y'all with my falafel. That's what they say, falafel, whatever it is, grand slam. I'm gonna hit y'all with the grand slam real quick. So this one gonna be a little rough, but it's happy rough, not rough.
Okay,
yeah, it's happy rough. And the most important woman in my life is my wife. And I promise you, she saved my life. Prior to us being married, I was still being a dog. I was out here, bro. Like, I'm just being real. I was out here. But she still saw past the fluff. And she still saw past my immaturities and all of the things that I was before I do. She saw past. And every single day I wake up, I'm like, yo, I can't fail her.
Yeah.
Like, I gotta be better than what I was yesterday for her. Why? Because she gave me a shot, bro. And yeah, I know, that it was already predetermined. Like, I already know the author of this story. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know it was predetermined. However, we still have a choice.
Right.
And it could have been a different choice. And yeah, she'd have been unhappy and all of those things. And I'm calling it out. She'd have been unhappy. She probably wouldn't have been living the life that she was living right now. You know what I'm talking about? She wouldn't have had a guy that she has right now, the charm, the look she was about. But what I'm saying is, when you see my wife, man, you see my worth. Okay. WORTH. You see my worth. You know what I mean? That's the most important woman to me. And that's what women history is for me. Women History Month is all of the women who I've come encounter or in contact with over the course of my life is why this is important. I miss many of them, man, and charge it not to my heart, man. Charge it to my head. I do apologize if I miss you.
We can't name everybody,
but just know this your shout out right here. Yeah. I mean, we thank you, or I thank you, on behalf of both of us, in the Fresh Perspective Podcast for just being who you are, not only to us but to those who you touch each and every day. And that's all I got. It's on you now, bro.
So for me, I'm gonna do a 3-person rifle off of the inner core, or 2-person of the inner core. So my Aunt Marla, I gotta shout you out. Very pivotal woman in my life from childhood through now, and is very connected. Is like one of those women, like you mentioned with your aunt, like blood couldn't make us any closer. Just there. I'll just say just there, active. One of my fondest things come around, I used to go to her house in the morning before I went to school. I'll say 2 things. I got to give her a little shine. I give her a little shine because she did her thing. So I used to go to her house in the morning before school, and she would sometimes make us lunch or pack lunches. And she would make me, I love peanut butter and jelly. So she would make me a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And she would cut the crust off. Now, I eat it either way. I eat the peanut butter and jelly sandwich either way, crust or no crust. But when she prepared it, it was so intricate. It was like a gourmet peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And so all her kids, we grew up so tight. And I don't know if y'all feel the same way, but I had a certain level of appreciation for those peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Because she would cut the crust off and cut them in a triangle, cut them diagonally. And they were perfect. Wasn't any jelly or peanut butter falling off the edges. It was like Chef Ramsay would be like, this is it.
Or salt. Yeah,
this is it. So, and if he wasn't, then, she wasn't opposed. She wouldn't be against letting him know how she felt, because she ain't take no tea for the fever either. She don't take no tea for the fever, and that's the other thing I want to say. The other 2 things. Then with the food, Dunkaroos. She was the first time I really got to encounter Dunkaroos, and from till now I love it. That's my treat. I know that's some kid stuff, but that's my treat. That's my treat from childhood, and it's fond memories of being with Aunt Marla, her packing my lunch, and really supporting my parents in that way, helping my parents out in that way. So, Aunt Marla, I love you. Also, if you say anything about me or any of her children or my brother, any of her so let's just say her children and all of her children's friends, and me and my brother and anybody other niece and nephew or whatever in her family, she's coming. She's coming. She's going from motherly golden retriever to pit bull. And so I advise you not to say anything crazy to me on any social media platform, because if my Aunt Marla sees it, even at 34 going on 35, she will jump in and she will let you know about yourself. And we love you for that, Aunt Marla. You're just the mother of mothers in a sense of just being able to really care after children. And being that you were at home, you really got to look after the children in the community. And so I think about that, because I think about, her and my mom were both home. And it's funny because she lived down the street and we were here at the top. And what would happen is you know, basically my mom had the top of the street. She could look out the window and see, make sure everybody was good. And if we was down the other way, Aunt Marla could. So she was like the watch. She was going to make sure we was good. The second person I'm going to say is my godmother, Anja. That's what we call her. I ain't saying her government name. We call her Anja. And Anja is another one who supported my family in a major way. She used to make us clothes when we were little. She would have us overnight when we were this is when we were babies. She would take us overnight to give my mom a break, you know, because that stuff ain't easy. You know, you got to, especially my brother was very finicky. He had colic and all that stuff. And I was too when I was little. So she would always come in and swoop in and give my mom a break. She did a lot of stuff with us. It has just been a part of every part of my life. And if she had not been there, I don't know how I would turn out, because she's done such a great job as a godmother, and is the most trusted. And out of all my godparents, she's the one that has been the most consistent. I'm not afraid to say that on the airs. That's just the truth. All right, so I'm moving to my mom.
Bro, you do know our platform is Instagram, right? Everybody gonna see it.
That's fine.
Okay.
That's fine.
He wanted to smoke.
That's fine.
Come out the chimney. That's what
it's the reality. I don't nothing against my other godparents, because I have at least 3.
Okay. I just wanted you to know
3 others outside of my outside of Anja.
What's going on?
Anja the one.
Right,
she
bro.
did her thing. That's my mom's best friend too. So she did her thing. She is the Michael Jordan of the bunch.
LeBron James. That's what he meant, y'all. That's what he meant.
I'm trying not to be too controversial.
Go ahead.
If I say LeBron, everybody gonna jump on me. That's my GOAT, LeBron. But she's the MJ. She's the MJ. She's the franchise player when it comes to my godparents. So I give her the shout out and give her flowers for that, and I look forward to celebrating more. You know, now you're a grand godparent. You know, you have and you're a grandmother too. My god brother has a daughter who's 5, I believe, going on 6 soon. So yeah, you're a grandmother. You're a grand godmother. You're doing your thing. So we appreciate all the work you've done.
Shout out to you.
I'm gonna be quick with my mom, not because she don't deserve more time, but because we're gonna actually do an episode on my podcast where I actually sit with my mom.
That's awesome.
And I'll be able to give her, just like I did with my dad, give her flowers, ask her some questions, and you'll be able to get to know our dynamic. We're silly, but we've also been through a lot academically and personally together, and we have a journey, and we're very similar in that way. So you'll enjoy that on my podcast. So I won't go too far into it. My mom, though, super, super pivotal, most valuable person in my life. And it's because she saw me when I couldn't see me. And when you see your children, it's one thing to have your children and, you see them playing around, but when you see them to their soul, it really anchors the relationship, but it also keeps the direction of the child on track. And when they get off track, you can bring them back because we know you see us. So she saw me that deeply that there were times in our life when we were at odds in my teenage years based on some decisions I was making, but it didn't take super long. I mean, if a year is long, it's long, but it didn't feel super long to the point where I realized, like, wait a minute, I don't want to jeopardize my relationship with my mom, because I knew she saw me to the soul. She was one of those people that saw me that deeply. So, Mom, love you. Another one, brilliant, empathetic, completely able to do anything that you want to do. I appreciate all you've done, all you forbear to make sure that me and my brother were straight. I love the fact that you are so connected to my sister, because not many women are willing to step in and be that connected to a child that is not biologically theirs. But you and my sister are so connected that it's, nobody could ever tell the way you talk about her that she's not your child. Because you see her as your child, and you've done that for many of my friends as well. So I appreciate you and love you, and I see you and I celebrate you.
Hold on. He not glazing over this, y'all. Hold on one second. Hold on. I would be remiss if I didn't shout my mama out. Again, charge it to my head, not my heart. But I knew Tuck would talk about you, so I would have an end at some point.
Oh, for sure.
But when you talk about how like she seen you like to your soul, bro. I can talk about that in my adult life.
Yeah.
Like really, like when we really like started to fortify, our relationship, like the family dynamic part of this relationship, like her and your dad both, like, bro, they gave me my shot when it came to my business.
Yeah.
And they said, I remember like it was yesterday. They said, well, she said, me and Pop want to give you the opportunity because we see where you're going. I ain't even see where I was going. Yeah. I was just doing it to make some extra cash because of a circumstance that I was going through at the time.
Yeah.
And as you were speaking and talking about how she could see straight to your soul, bro, it touched me because they helped change the trajectory of my life by allowing me to mow their grass, bro.
Yeah.
Deep. But anyway, go ahead. I digress.
No, that's real though. That's real. And a big thing I'll say is it was annoying when I was in my teens, but I realize now my mom doesn't operate completely in the physical, right? She's a seer, like I mentioned, seeing to the soul. And so anytime I would be going through something, she would always say, like, what's God saying to you? And I would be like, Mom, I'm not trying to hear that. I want some like real advice in life. Like, tell me like how to do this and get here and go and talk to this person and get into these spaces. And she was like, well, what's God saying to you? Like, stop and really think about what God is saying to you. And I realized it's because like my mom was teaching me like everything, like don't get too caught up in what you see and what you're experiencing, because that's not the thing. The thing is, what is God saying to you in that? And that helped me go from failing out of Westchester to ultimately getting an associate's degree, a bachelor's degree, and then a master's degree, because I realized God was tugging on my coattail and was like, yo, like I'm trying to tell you something, but I wouldn't have even been able to tap into that if my mom didn't consistently do that throughout my life. If she didn't consistently say, what is God saying to you? I stopped in my lowest point when it came to education and career, and I was able to stop and say, God, what are you saying to me? What are you saying to me? Oh, I'm still carrying a lot of this shame from not doing well in my high school years. I'm still carrying the hurt from being told that I basically wouldn't be, that I'm not that smart in my elementary years. I'm carrying all that. I never processed that. I never dealt with that. And once I figured that out, I was able to say, let me go ahead and work on that. And I worked on it, and I realized that the things I told myself based on the things that people told me were not what God was telling me about myself.
Jesus.
And I realized whenever I get into this negative thinking about myself, it's directly attributed to my mom's consistency on what is God saying. Whenever I start thinking negative about myself, I always hold up the comparison. You know, you can go on these websites and compare products with each other, and they'll list all the things that one has versus the other. I compare what am I saying about myself versus what is God saying about myself. And I compare it. If what I'm saying isn't in alignment, I got to change.
That's a fact.
And that's directly connected to who my mom is in my life. So, Mom, I love you. And I spent more time than I said I was going to spend.
Yeah, no, I was going to cut you off, but you was.
Last thing I want to say, last but the most important woman in my life.
The most.
We talking about the nurse. We talking about now a supervisor and an educator in the nursing realm, in labor and delivery. We talking about a woman who saw me, and this is what made me realize she was the one for me, is that she saw me similar as my mom. So when I failed out of Westchester, she was graduating the next semester. So she was on point. She did what she was supposed to do. She could have been like, man, you not motivated. You lazy. You this. All the things the world would say. And be like, I can't deal with this no more. I want to break up, because we had only been together for 6 months at that point when I failed out. So she could have been like, I don't want to be with somebody like this. I want to be with somebody who's driven. I want to be with one of these guys that's graduating in the spring and that's going to go on, or I'm going to be by myself because I'm on point. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. But she told me, and this is crazy. This is probably something she don't remember. This is probably something, and I won't go crazy because me and her are going to be doing a podcast series together too. So we'll get into it. But she said something to me that was so beyond. our years, maturity and wisdom wise. She said to me, you know, this failure is an event basically, but it's not who you are. I don't see you as a failure. And listen, that's beyond the years. I don't know if she remembers saying that to me, because I really didn't tell her until it was like I had to move out of the apartment, which my apartment was around the corner from hers. So at that point, I'm like, I got to tell her because I'm moving my stuff out of the apartment now. So it's like, there's no way around it anymore. And she was upset that I had waited so long because I really didn't tell her my academic situation. So she was upset that I waited so long to tell her. And that was her response to me when I said, wow, I just was kind of ashamed and thought maybe you wouldn't want to be with me anymore if I wasn't like making progress in life and doing what I got to do. And failing was an option. Like I knew I was going to be there another year after her because I just didn't have the credits to finish when they finished. And we knew that, but I was like, but now I'm being dismissed, so I don't know when I'm going to finish. But she said those key words to me, and that's when I knew. I was like, oh, she's not going nowhere. And she is brilliant. She's loving. She's a wonderful mother. So many things she does. She's a wonderful nurse. She cares about her patients so much, and well beyond some people who go into the field. That's not a shot. That's just a reality. Some people go in and they get burnt out and their care kind of changes. It becomes more of I got to go to work. She loves to be a nurse. She loves labor and delivery. She loves all those things. And she loves her children and she loves me. And if she could add more time in the day to make sure that everybody got their time, she would. But yes, my wife, Diana Tucker, love you. And you're a wonderful woman, and you are making your own history. So we want to shout you out today.
I don't think I got that button on the pad today. I don't think I got that one.
That was good though.
That's a rap like Reynolds. That's what they say.
For sure.
So I mean, I guess I could say this podcast is sponsored by. So we're gonna do that today. Yeah, man. This podcast is sponsored by This is Goodwater. We'll drop the link in the description, but it's right here. This is the water we've been drinking the whole time. I had an opportunity to partner with them in my personal brand. They took a chance with me to say they took a chance with me, to really represent, not really their brand, but yeah, their water, man. This water is really good. They are Black owned. They are veteran owned.
Yeah, I love that. Both of that. A lot of veterans in my family.
Yeah, they're both of those things. And they are both of the owners. The one owner, Dave Miller, I had an opportunity to meet with him. We do business together outside of Goodwater. He's also my CMOS plug. You know what I'm saying? Like I ingest heavily. And then also he became a landscaping client. So
okay,
like we're mixing.
You gotta get that CMOS up here, bro.
Yeah. I'm gonna bring that John in. I just got 2 new jars yesterday.
Yeah, I need the plug, man.
Yeah, man, I'm gonna get you the plug. Shout out, man.
This about to turn to power.
Shout out to shout out to the plug, the legal plug, my man Dave Miller. Who is just bringing like a holistic approach to our communities, and he has a great story. Gonna get him on the podcast one day. He got a great story. But yeah, man, you got any closing remarks before we close out?
Nah, man, that's a wrap. I think this might be a 2-parter, so this might actually hold us over a little bit.
I might have to break this joint down. We're at hour, 15 minutes, and 15 seconds and counting.
Yeah.
Which is all right though. You know what I'm saying? It's good. So I'll hit us with the closeout, man. We just thank y'all for coming in, hanging out with us yet again on another Saturday morning. Y'all probably catch us on a Saturday morning. Shout out to Alicia Renee Phillips, who by the time y'all see this, we will be married 10 years, God willing.
Yeah.
We get to those next, what day is it? Day 3 or day 2 of March. So we got 17 more days to our 10-year anniversary, man. I love you. I enjoyed this decade with you. Here's to another 1,000 decades. I don't care however long God keeps us on this earth together, man. I truly enjoy you, and you are my worth, man. Listen, man, that was a Fresh Perspective podcast. Yep. I'm your host, Ray Phillips Jr., alongside the co-host,
Tuck.
That man got a real name. It's okay though. Tuck is good though. It's good. It's good. It's good.
Nah, I'll give y'all the real name. Levi Albert Tucker II.
There it is, the second. But y'all just call him Tuck, all right? Only I'll call him Levi Tucker II. Peace. Love.